Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review. And the title for this video is I'm going to be discussing the Jaws movie series. Was the first one? I'm going to get into the thing pretty quick. Of course, the first Jaws movie, right here, came out in 1975, almost 40 years ago. And this movie, of course, is based on the famous novel by Peter Benchley, who does have a cameo in this film. Because this film is the first of the so-called summer blockbusters. And it was the first summer blockbuster. Of course, followed by 2 years later by Star Wars. Because this movie is directed by Steven Spielberg, and I think this was the second film that he did. The first one he did was a movie called Duel, D-U-E-L, Duel. It had to do with monster trucks. This time, to kill a shark, or a great white shark, threatening a small beachfront town. Of course, for all you novices out there, for a little bit of trivia, this movie was filmed in Martha's Vineyard and in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And my family and I went to Cape Cod a couple of times, and we went to the area where the opening sequence of Jaws was filmed, including, of course, the lighthouse. Of course, that's where they put that Amityville, the Amity sign, where the girl and they had painted the shark on there. It's a joke. So I did visit that area. And of course, like I said, this is the first real summer blockbuster film. Of course, the three main characters were played by Roy Schneider, who plays the police chief in the town. I don't care for his politics, but he was a great character actor. One of the last great roles he had was when he played a Russian mobster in the television show Third Watch. It was really one of the last really great roles he had. And of course, the other two characters were Robert Shaw, played Quint, the shark hunter. And of course, Richard Dreyfuss, who was the shark expert from the Oceanographic Institute. So you have three really great actors playing the three major roles. And you do have other great actors filling out the rest of the cast. You have Lorraine Gary, who played Chief Woolley's wife. You had Murray Hamilton. Of course, those of you remember him from the movie The Graduate, playing the mayor. And I forgot who else filled the cast. Those are really the main characters. But in terms of the movie, you had a lot of real terrific tension in this film. The reason for that is because I haven't read the original novel, so I couldn't really compare the novel with the book, with the novel with the movie. But in terms of the reason why you haven't seen the full shark to more than halfway through the film, because of the fact, of course, we all know that the sharks in all the Jaws movies was a mechanical shark. They had so many problems filming the shark. Always just break down, or didn't look properly. So that's why they kept the tension up until you saw the famous scene where Roy Schneider was throwing chum line into the water, and then you see the shark. And of course, you come out with the classic line, "Going to need a bigger boat." I mean, and that line made the AFI's list of 100 biggest movie lines. But of course, the most best. At first, I didn't really care for this movie. At first, because to me, it felt like it was like two separate films. And it was like two separate films. Because first, you saw Roy Schneider on the land trying to protect the people from the great white shark, trying to keep the beaches closed, and fight the bureaucracy of the town's leaders, the mayor and the council, and all that, trying to keep the beaches closed to save the people. But the mayor insisted to keep the beaches open. That's how they get all the money, otherwise it won't be poor the rest of the winter. That's how they survive the winter, by having good summers. And if they report there's a shark out there, attacking people, people are not going to come to Amity Island to swim here, or to rent out beach houses and or beach cottages and all that type of thing. They'll go somewhere else. They'll go to Long Island, the Hamptons, or Cape Cod, or somewhere else. Not come here. So they kept the beaches open, and then of course a couple people got attacked. Including a little boy got attacked. Well, the first night was a girl that got attacked, and then a few days later a boy got attacked, and then another guy got. So he had like 3 attacks within a week or week and a half of each other. So of course now the beaches had to be officially closed until they get rid of the shark. And of course in the rest of the movie you have three main characters: Richard Dreyfuss, Barbara Shaw, and Roy Snyder hiding the shark. And when you watch the rest of the movies, the 3 of them out on the water hiding the shark, and the rest of the characters just fall from the wayside. And the 3 of them will almost the second half of the film while out on the water hiding the shark. Of course, the 2 best scenes when they actually on the boat. And Robert Shaw is getting ready. He's sitting in a chair in the back of the boat with the hooks, the fishing pole, strapping himself into the chair, and slowly getting ready because he can sense the shark. They snag the shark, and of course, then he yells at Richard Dreyfuss' character, "Hooper, you idiot! Ain't you watching it?" And of course, the other scene, of course, was also involving Robert Shaw, and he also was a terrific writer, for I understand. Helped write the famous Indianapolis speech. And those who don't know what the USS Indianapolis was, that was the ship that helped carry the atomic bomb, the Hiroshima bomb, or the bomb that was eventually dropped on Hiroshima in Japan during World War II. Shortly after the bomb was picked up and delivered to Hiroshima, the Indianapolis was attacked by a Japanese submarine. It had 2 torpedoes into its side, sank in 12 minutes, and practically the entire crew was out on the water and they were out there for about a week or so. And the majority of them didn't drown or wasn't killed by the Japanese, but was killed by sharks. And it was one of the gruesome storylines that came out of World War II, and then of course the Holocaust. And the war itself, of course. So as Robert Shaw is telling us, it's a really slow paced, peepy way he was saying it, and that voice he used in this film was absolutely terrific, and it had Richard Dreyfuss spellbound watching Robert Shaw deliver this speech, which I felt was the 2 best scenes in the whole movie. And then of course the build up to the shark. Yeah, other great scenes as well, especially between the rivalry between Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw, with each one trying to one up each other. You know, the scoring contest. It's all, look at this score on my arm or my leg or hand. My heart here broke my heart. And all go for, look at this. He broke my heart. And that, the scoring, comparing the scores. And of course, the other scene that was also pretty funny was the scene was after the scene I described with him, with Robert Shaw, with the lines, the fishing line. He says, "You wealthy college boys, you don't have the education enough to admit when you're wrong." He says it to Richard Dreyfuss' character, and of course he just goes like this, using the finger, and then he sticks his tongue out. It was pretty funny scene. Of course, after all the success in the first movie, about 3 or 4 years later, I think 78 or 79, Jaws 2 came out. And of course, Jaws 2 pretty much picks up the story almost pretty much a couple years later after when the movie, after the events of the first film. And of course, guess what? Big surprise, another great white shark terrorizes Amityville. And now his family, particularly his wife, getting more and more political. I think he worked for the mayor's office or something like that. And of course, Richard almost the entire cast from the original movies back in this one. The only difference, of course, is Robert Shaw's character was killed. No spoiler, he gets killed. He does get killed by the shark in the end of the original film. And the ship they used, the Orca, sank in the end of the original film. And the Richard Dreyfuss character wasn't there because he went to the North Pole for a few months, which he referenced in the first film. What he was going to be doing. So those two characters were not there, but the original cast was there, and actually they had different actors playing Chief Woolley's kids. And of course, in the second movie, Chip Woolley knows, and again, that's another quick white shark. So of course, the town, the mayor says, "God, we're not going to do this again." And he says, "Look, if you don't do this, we're going to go through this whole thing all over again. I know what a big white shark looks like. It was this close to my face." And of course, there was like a shark tower that was built on the beach, I guess after the incident of the first film. So here goes Chief Woolley sitting in the tower, watching the beach, watching to make sure that there wasn't a shark out there. And the other townsfolk, or people want to invest money into the town to help build more beachfront condos or whatever it was. Says, "Oh, what's that?" They said, "Oh, that's a shark tower. Watch out for sharks." And then, of course, the mayor and all the other town leaders got nervous seeing the chief up there. And then, of course, the chief went off the tower, down the beach, fires his gun at the shark. And because he did that with a beach full of people, he ended up getting fired. All that stuff was going on. The chief's kids, along with their group of friends, went out sailing, and then, of course, they get attacked by the shark. So he goes Chief Woolley to go look for him, and he kills the shark. This time, instead of with a propane tank in the first film, they killed the shark in the first film. This time, he found an underwater electrical line from the mainland to Amity Island. He picked it up, and he keeps hitting that to attract the shark. The shark bit that. And the shark pretty much electrocuted himself, or itself, in the second film. It's almost similar, not exactly scene for scene, but it's kind of similar to how the first movie ended. The shark blew itself up in the end. But Chief Woolley got excited again. It became the hill. And so it got a little tiresome. So about like 3 or 4 years later, in 1983, on the 30th anniversary of the invention of 3D films. Now at that time, in the early 80s, there were a bunch of films that came out as 3D. Like Amityville Horror 3D, and I think Psycho 3D came out 3D, whatever it was. But also on local television here in New York, they were showing a couple of movies in 3D. And you had to go out. I remember particularly they had a feature film. The most famous 3D film was the creature film Black Lagoon in 1954. You had to go out to Burger King and buy a special medium-sized meal, like medium burger, fries, and a soda. And you get a pair of 3D glasses. One side was red and one side was blue. And you go on TV and you watch them put these 3D glasses on. And so 3D became interesting again, more of a fad again. So why not have another George movie? But this time was totally different from what the other two films were. This time it was a film based in SeaWorld, I believe in Florida, SeaWorld in Florida. And the movie stars Leah Thompson, who of course was the it girl of the 80s. She was in so many films in the 80s, like Back to the Future and Some Kind of Wonderful. So many other films, of course, Red Dawn. I think that was her first film, and the only thing that was good about it is that you see her in a bikini. That's the only good thing about this movie, about seeing her in this movie, is seeing her in a bikini. That's it. And also, this was Dennis Quaid in this film, one of his early films, and Lou Gossett Jr. It's kind of ironic for him, because I think this is what's coming off his Oscar-winning role in For Officer and Gentleman. They're going for being an Oscar-winning role from Jaws 3D. And Jaws 3D was, no question, the worst movie I ever saw in my life. No question about it. I mean, there's no doubt about my mind. This was the worst movie I ever went to. And of course, the special effects are so cheesy. You have people pointing at the camera, oh, look, that's a shot. Look, that's a shot. And of course, you can tell with the composition of my webcam, you can tell that it's almost like 3D itself. Oh, look, that's the shot. Shot. You know all that stuff. And of course, throughout the movie, they do capture not a full-grown white shark, but like a baby shark almost. And they're going through, hammer this fact over your head, overseeing you over the head with this fact: won't great white sharks die in captivity? So, big surprise, the shark dies. Now, of course, and they still trying to figure out why does great white sharks die in captivity? They're trying to figure that out. Meanwhile, a shark about 5 to 10 times the size of the one they caught comes in from the ocean like some gate that goes out to the ocean. It was open or whatever it was. I don't even remember already. The shark comes in, starts tearing up the whole aquarium, smashing everything. Smash an underwater passageway that tourists will go into, and you be like underwater, but inside this tube. Destroys that, kills a couple of people, eats people up, eats water skiers, whatever. And says, oh, why is this and one character says, why is the shark tearing up the place? And another character says, I believe that it's the shark's mother. What? I'm serious. This was actually what happened in the movie. Oh, I think that's the shark's mother. The shark, the required, I think this is his mother. When that line was uttered, you can literally hear the moans and groans in the movie theater. I'm serious. I am not joking. I had enough of this movie. At that point, I had enough of this movie. And I yelled. I'm not kidding. I actually yelled this. Hey, George, your mommy's calling you. I got a bigger laugh than the movie did. That was my first real public laugh. Was I said, hey, George, your mommy's calling you. And I'm in bed, but holding the head like this. Oh God, here he goes. And that was like the stupidest and the worst film I ever seen in my life. If I had to make a top 10 list of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, that's number one. By a long shot. That's like number one. This is second, maybe Angel Flight. That's another video for another day. So of course, after the disaster of Jaws 3D, 4 years later, you have had Jaws, the fourth, and thank goodness, the final Jaws film, which was titled, it wasn't even titled Jaws 4, it was called Jaws the Revenge. And it only brought back, I think it brought back like two of the characters from the original film. Lorraine Gary, Chief Brody's wife, and Chief Brody's deputy in the first two films. I think he came back in this one. But that's it. That's where you had the two sons, and you had much older. You also have Michael Caine in this film. Whereas this one is when you're not between the years of the second movie and this one, in the fourth film. The Chief Brody died of a heart attack because of all the stress, from these two sharks in the first two films. So now, whereas he's dead, she's a widow. The other deputy is now, Chief Brody's deputy was now the chief of Amity. and one of the two sons, the youngest son, Sean, got attacked by a shark, a great white shark, and died. So, doing Gary's role, she believes that her family is cursed with being attacked by sharks. And her son was done in the Caribbean, I believe, doing research on sharks or whatever it was. And of course, they found another great white shark was being attacked, and Michael Caine was, who was playing Gary's new love interest. And of course, what happens, the shark gets destroyed in the end of the film. But in this particular film, Jaws: Revenge, it has one of the biggest, and not the biggest, movie flub in movie history. And of course, there's not that many people saw Jaws: Revenge because the movie was so awful. You can look on YouTube and you can find Siskel and Ebert's review of this film, and they do mention this flub. In a particular flub when the shark attacks Michael Caine's boat and destroys it to the point where it sinks, and they pull Michael Caine out of the water, and Michael Caine was supposed to be in the water, and he gets pulled out of the water, and then of course he's supposed to be sopping wet. Now, unfortunately, the flub is that his hair is completely dry, just as dry as my hair is, and his clothes were completely dry. So how in the world could he be completely dry if he just got pulled out of the water? That's the biggest flub. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous, and I thought the movie was awful. I mean, it's not as bad as Jaws 3D, but it's bad because of that flub. But as a, if you want to just watch Jaws movies, just really stick with the first one. The second one was a decent follow-up, not a great follow-up, but a decent one. But that's it. I'm telling you guys, I was watching this video, just stick with the first two films, and that's it. That's it. Thank you for watching my review of the Jaws movies. Please share the video. Please comment. Please feel free to comment on it. Please read it. And please share it on your Facebook pages. Thanks for watching.